Millionaire claims Waitress is worthless. Her incredible comeback revealed hearts everywhere. Emily sighed as she wiped down the counter of the downtown diner, the smell of sizzling bacon and buttery toast filling the air around her. The cheerful clatter of utensils and the hum of conversation made it easy to forget about the weight she carried, the financial struggles of her single mom and 2 younger siblings. Every day, she wore her smile like armor, radiating warmth to the hungry patrons who filled the seats. Regulars loved her, sensing her kindness and tenacity, but hope began to wane as their world turned increasingly cold. Then, on a bustling Sunday morning, a new figure entered, the kind of man whose tailored suit and air of superiority made the diner feel smaller. Richard, the businessman, slid into a booth, sneering at the menu as if it held nothing of value. As his overpriced coffee was served, his disdainful remark pierced through Emily's warm facade. In my world, people like you are worthless. Her heart raced. The laughter around her turned to uneasy whispers. How could someone be so callous? But something in that moment snapped within her. A fire in her belly ignited, fueled by the silent support of her coworkers and regulars who'd witnessed the entire exchange. They shielded her with their collective resilience, reminding her that her worth couldn't be measured in dollar signs. For every insult Richard flung, she felt a wave of love and loyalty wrap around her. The diner was her family. Returning home that night, Emily and her siblings shared a quiet moment in their cramped living room. Their laughter filled the air, just like the smell of fresh-baked cookies her mom had made, a comfort amidst their struggles. Yet, underneath the light atmosphere lay a heavy truth. The sacrifices they all made every day weighed heavily on her heart. She promised herself to rise above, to fight for their better tomorrow, but the question lingered. Could she reclaim her dignity? Days blended into one another as Emily navigated the ups and downs of life. Bills piled high, and hope flickered like a candle in the wind. Just when the weight felt too heavy to bear, the bow of fate unraveled a local baking contest. Let us see what you've got. Her manager cheered. It was a shot at glory. Flour danced in the air as Emily poured her heart into cupcakes, each batter mixing her desire for happiness and for her family's dreams. When a local food critic arrived, her creations spoke to people, transcending mere taste and touching hearts. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when Emily thought life was brightening, Richard sauntered back in, his laughter echoing like thunder. She felt shackled by the presence that reminded her of every person's prejudices. But she now stood taller, empowered by her community's support and the sweetness of her success. It was time to confront him, to redefine her worth not through wealth, but through the strength of her spirit. As the chatter faded and all eyes turned towards her, whispers of encouragement filled the room. The moment had come. Could she rise to reclaim her right to dream? Emily's heart raced as she faced Richard, his arrogance filling the air like a thick fog. The diner buzzed with anticipation, patrons leaning in, their expressions a mix of support and curiosity. She took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of her friend's encouragement wrap around her like a safety net. Today wouldn't just be another day. It would be a turning point. Excuse me? She said, her voice steadier than she felt. What do you know about worth? Richard chuckled, his eyes glimmering with contempt. Worth is a measure of success and wealth, something you clearly lack. The comment stung, but instead of sinking into despair, Emily used it as fuel. You think value is measured in dollars? What about heart, community, love? The words hung in the air, and Emily saw some nodding in agreement. Her regulars understood her struggle, the ceaseless hustle of making ends meet. They didn't have tailored suits or trust funds, but they had something far more valuable: each other. As Richard opened his mouth to respond, Emily pressed on. I'm a waitress, yes, but I also bake, and that takes passion and dedication. Where's your passion? What do you love aside from money? Richard faltered for just a minute, a crack in his composed facade. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. She could sense the shift. The unfair weight of his disdain was starting to lift, replaced with the rising tide of support from the diner. "Believe me, Emily," Richard said, his voice low but full of indignation. "In my world, kindness doesn't pay the bills." "Maybe that's the problem," she shot back, her confidence growing with each word. "Have you ever considered that outward success isn't everything? Sometimes people like me are worth more because we uplift those around us. We create joy, comfort, and hope." The diner erupted into murmurs. Her words struck a chord, resonating with those who felt unseen and unheard. Emily felt a surge of power, her spirit soaring as the realization cemented within her she was not just a waitress. She was a beacon of strength for her family, her community, and herself. Richard's amusement turned to annoyance, his smirk slipping. "You really think you can win this contest with a few cupcakes? It's a joke." His dismissive tone sent a blaze of determination through her. "But it's a better joke than dismissing people as worthless." The diner cheered, a rallying cry of solidarity. Emily's friends began clapping, their support pooling into a wave of momentum. She glanced around, noticing the smiles, the nods, and the glimmering hopeful eyes. They were proud of her. They believed in her. Just then, a voice cut through the excitement. "What's their prize?" asked Mrs. Jenkins, a sweet lady who had been coming to the diner for years. "A chance," Emily replied, her voice echoing through the din. "A chance to turn dreams into reality." Richard's expression soured, but Emily didn't back down. As she stood there embracing her community, he could not take this from her. For the first time, Emily felt lifted by something beyond herself. She could taste the sweetness of victory, and it fueled her. But deep down, despite the cheers, her mind raced with doubts. Winning the contest felt impossibly distant, and what if Richard was right? As the evening went on, she prepared for the contest, pouring all her feelings into each swirl of frosting and dash of sprinkles. She was determined to prove Richard wrong. But as the night faded into a restless sleep, a question lingered: was she truly ready for the spotlight, or would doubt rise again to haunt her? With a shaky breath, she whispered to herself, "Tomorrow will bring a new chance," and slipped into dreams filled with vision and hope, unaware of the challenges ahead that could easily shift the ground beneath her feet. The sun peeked through the curtains, casting a warm glow across Emily's kitchen. She blinked awake and wiped her eyes, the remnants of last night's adrenaline still buzzing through her. It was the day of the contest, a day that felt as monumental as her dreams. As she prepared breakfast, she could feel the anticipation hanging in the air. Butter sizzling in the pan filled her with a sense of purpose. Each crack of an egg echoed in her mind, reminding her that today wasn't just about baking. It was about proving herself and standing for what she believed in. Emily moved quickly, measuring flour and sugar as she thought about how to impress the judges. The usual way of making her beloved cupcakes didn't seem enough. They were delicious, sure, but she needed something that would resonate beyond the taste buds. Each scoop of flour felt like a rebuttal to Richard's sneering words. Each sprinkle of colorful toppings symbolized hope and perseverance, a reminder of the community behind her as the sweet smells filled the air. Her phone buzzed on the counter, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a text from Mia. "Can't wait for the contest today. Bring your A game. You've got this." Emily smiled, her heart swelling. Mia was right. Today was all about strength in numbers. She wasn't alone. As she worked, she could picture the support of her friends filling the diner, cheering her on like a wave crashing against a shore. She took a moment to breathe, grateful for the people in her life who believed in her when she often didn't believe in herself. The clock ticked away, urgency thickening the air. After decorating the last cupcake with vibrant rainbow sprinkles, she stared at her creation. Each cupcake had a story hidden in its layers: the late nights of mixing batter after a full shift, the whispered dreams shared with customers, the laughter from friends who had turned into family. It was all poured into those little cakes. Rushing to grab her coat, Emily got one last look in the mirror, a quick adjustment of her hair, and a reminder of the determination etched on her face. Today, she would step into a world beyond the diner, where self-doubt had no business. As she drove toward the community center, the excitement and nerves tangled together like a tight knot in her stomach. Emily gripped the steering wheel, but it wasn't fear that tempted to take hold. Instead, it was anticipation, the exhilarating possibility of turning the tide. The parking lot was alive with people. Contestants were milling around, some excited while others were apprehensive, just like her. Richard was there, tall and imposing, seemingly unaffected by the weight of yesterday's confrontation. She tried to shake off the image of him and remained focused on what mattered. Emily stepped out of her car, the scent of the earth fresh from the rain mingling with the faint smell of baked goods wafting through the air. As she walked toward the entrance, a mix of voices surrounded her: laughter, whispers, and the clinking of utensils. It felt like a reunion of old friends, each bringing their unique flavor to the crowd. Just then, she spotted the judges' table. Anxiety spun inside her but ignited the fire in her belly. She thought about Richard's disbelief, the challenge she faced. The contest wasn't just about her cupcakes. It was about standing up for her community, her family, and herself. With a deep breath, she stepped inside, her heart echoing a steady rhythm of anticipation, reminding her why she was here. And then she saw them, a lineup of competitors, each one fierce in their own right. But the moment her eyes locked on Richard, she felt a flicker of doubt, a reminder of how far their confrontation had reached. What if that joke was right? She could easily blend into the crowd, just another face in the sea of culinary hopefuls. But what if she was more? Just as she was about to give in to uncertainty, a mother with a child gripped her hand tightly, eyes shining with hope. Emily couldn't let them down. The stage was set. The moment was fast approaching. In that instant, the challenge wasn't just about the cupcakes, but about the courage and heart behind them. Could she deliver more than just baked goods? As the announcer called for the contestants to line up, Emily's chest tightened, her heart racing. Could she rise to this challenge and reclaim the narrative? With a deep breath, she whispered to herself, "This is my moment," as she stepped forward into the light, uncertainty dancing just beyond her reach. But as she walked onto the stage, she could feel the weight of support behind her, urging her to embrace the spotlight head-on. What awaited her was still uncertain, but determination surged within her, ready for whatever came next. The spotlight warmed her skin as Emily stepped onto the stage, her heart pounding in response to the electric atmosphere. The crowd's murmurs washed over her like a tide, excitement mixing with anxiety. She scanned the room, taking in the faces of fellow contestants and the judges who sat with their poised expressions, ready to evaluate each creation. Emily's breath quickened as she placed her cupcakes on the brightly decorated table. They sparkled like jewels beneath the bright lights, colorful sprinkles glimmering with promise. Each little cake bore her hopes and dreams, a burst of joy encapsulated in icing and fluff. Then there was Richard, sitting at the far end of the judges' table, arms crossed, his expression a mixture of skepticism and boredom. The memory of his harsh words gnawed at her mind. But in that moment, she tapped into something deeper, a well of resilience that her friends inspired within her. Did he truly believe the mean things he said? She felt a rush of resolve. She wouldn't let him steal her moment as the first contestants began to present. Emily's eyes drifted toward the audience. She spotted Mia, waving enthusiastically, her smile a beacon of encouragement. A sense of calm washed over Emily, reminding her that this wasn't just her solo fight. It was a shared journey with everyone who believed in her. When it was finally her turn, she stepped forward, the noise of the crowd fading to a dull roar. "Hello, everyone," she began, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'm Emily, and these cupcakes aren't just treats, they're a celebration of community and the strength we carry within us." With a quick flourish, she launched into her presentation, telling the story behind each flavor: nectarines from the local farmer's market, chocolate from the shop that had welcomed her on hard days, and a twist of lemon that shouted warmth and nostalgia. As she spoke, her passion ignited, painting vivid pictures in the minds of the listeners. Each cupcake sparked a memory, a shared laughter, a whispered secret. Yet, it was Richard's gaze that remained fixed on her. She could almost hear the mockery in his thoughts. But as Emily took a deep breath, she recalled the little boy from earlier, wide-eyed and full of belief. Wouldn't he want her to try? With newfound courage, she added, "These cupcakes are about more than my struggles. They're for anyone who has ever been told they couldn't do something. Trust me, we are all worth more than any judgment passed upon us." A wave of silence swept through the room. For just a moment, Emily observed reactions. Heads nodding, eyes glistening. It was in that instant she caught Richard off guard, a flicker of something passing over his face. Was that admiration? It didn't matter. She had opened her heart, and that was what truly counted. With an instinctive confidence, she finished her presentation and stepped back, feeling lighter, as if she shed weights she hadn't realized she was carrying. Focused applause erupted, filling the kitchen with energy. It felt like home. But as she returned to her spot, the atmosphere shifted. Richard stood, a smirk dancing on his lips, and spoke with sharp clarity. "Interesting story, but can you really deliver on flavor?" The challenge hung in the air, taut and charged. Emily's heart raced. His skepticism was palpable, but deep inside, she felt her resolve intensifying. Could she turn the tide right here, right now? As the judges began their tastings, anticipation set her pulse racing. Would her cupcakes resonate as she hoped? Or was Richard right? Would she be merely another face in the sea? Or something much more? Anxiously, she watched the judges take their first bites, their expressions unreadable. This was what she had been fighting for, and now it all hinged on a moment. Just then, one of the judges smiled, eyes lighting up in surprise. Emily's breath hitched, a flicker of hope igniting within her. Before she could catch her breath, another judge exclaimed, "This is incredible," but all she could focus on was Richard's reaction. Was it possible to inspire even him? The moment held its breath, and so did she. What if this was the beginning of something bigger than just a contest? What if she could change hearts? As the crowd murmured and judges deliberated, Emily felt the weight of the moment crash over her. Would she be seen for who she truly was? Or would Richard's shadow linger, dimming her light once again? And then, just before the tension could break, the announcer's voice sliced through the air. The winner of the contest is about to be revealed. The crowd hushed. A thick tension filled the air, as if everyone was holding their breath. Emily could feel her heart thudding in her chest, a wild drumbeat urging her to believe in herself. She glanced at the judges, their faces a blend of contemplation and surprise. Could it be? Had she truly done enough to sway even Richard? "My heart is pounding in my throat," she thought, her eyes darting to Mia, who flashed a reassuring smile and a thumbs up from the back row. It was as if Mia believed in her more than she believed in herself. The announcer cleared his throat, his voice resonating through the vast room. "And the winner of this year's cupcake challenge is..." Time slowed. Emily squeezed her hands into tiny fists, her breath shallow, eyes wide. Each name felt like an eternity, as if the world around her blurred out of focus. "Emily!" The word echoed, and for an instant, she didn't know if she heard correctly. But then it hit her, crashing over her like a tidal wave. "I won." The reality ignited joy deep within her, a bright spark that burst forth with an intensity that nearly knocked the breath from her lungs. The room erupted in applause, and cheers cascaded over her, lifting her spirit. She wasn't just Emily the waitress anymore. She was Emily the champion as she stepped forward to accept her award. A shiny trophy glistening under the stage lights, she spotted Richard's expression. Even from a distance, she could see the shock etched across his face. For a moment, she savored it, letting that delightful sense of vindication wash over her. But there was a flicker of doubt creeping in, lingering at the edges of her triumph. What if this was just a small victory? Would Richard see her as she truly was? Would he ever change his view that she was just a nobody with dreams too big for her own good? "Emily, come on up." the announcer urged, pulling her back from her thoughts. She shuffled forward, her heart still racing. As she reached the podium, a myriad of emotions swept through her. The applause, the cameras flashing, everything felt surreal. She was momentarily speechless, staring at the throngs of faces, all celebrating her. "Thank you. This means so much to me," she began, her voice trembling slightly as she fought to keep her composure. "This is more than just a win. It's proof that when you follow your passion and never give up, amazing things can happen." The crowd responded with a roar. She could feel their enthusiasm wrapping around her like a warm blanket. This was it. She was not just winning for herself. She was winning for every person who had ever been doubted or underestimated. They deserved this moment too. As she basked in the cheers, she caught Richard's gaze again. What was he thinking now? For a brief second, she considered finding a way to reach out to him. Could she show him the world wasn't so black and white? That dreams could exist where one least expected them. But before she could meditate on his expression, a judge approached her with a beaming smile. "Emily, we'd love to feature your recipe in our upcoming cookbook. Your story is inspiring, and we think it deserves a wider audience." Cheers erupted once more, but amidst the delight, a small knot tightened in her stomach. Could she handle the pressure of newfound attention? Was it possible to keep her heart intact while chasing bigger goals? "Absolutely," Emily replied, a smile stretching across her face. "Let us inspire more people together." As she stepped off the stage, the applause fading, adrenaline coursed through her veins. The battle within her wasn't over. A part of her would always wonder about Richard, about the whispers of doubt that haunted her own journey. What if he never changed? What did his reaction truly mean for her moving forward? But as she walked towards her friends, surrounded by warmth and friendship, she felt more sure than ever. Maybe this was just the beginning of a bigger journey. Maybe her voice could rise above the noise. What awaited her on this new path? Was she ready to confront not just her fears, but also the opinions of those who had doubted her? Little did she know, the answers lurked just around the corner, waiting for her to embrace them fully. Emily stepped off the stage, her heart still racing. The exhilaration of winning mixed with lingering doubts, creating a chaotic storm within her. She pushed through the crowd of well-wishers, accepting hugs and high-fives, their joy igniting a sense of belonging she had long craved. Yet, in the midst of celebration, Richard's expression still haunted her. Even with the trophy in her hand, uncertainty gnawed at the edges of her triumph. He had labeled her as someone who belonged behind the counter, someone who didn't have what it took to chase big dreams. In the bright spotlight of her victory, she found a corner to catch her breath. The noise of the crowd faded into a distant hum, and all she could hear was her own heartbeat. She wrapped her fingers around the cool surface of the trophy, a tangible reminder of what she had achieved. "Hey, you okay?" Mia appeared beside her, concern etched on her face. "Yeah, I can't stop thinking about Richard," Emily admitted, squeezing the trophy tighter. "What if this doesn't change how he sees me?" Mia's smile faltered for a moment before she spoke. "Forget about him. You just showed everyone, including yourself, that you can rise above. This trophy isn't just metal. It's your story. It's proof you can defy their expectations." "But what if I can't keep this up?" Emily murmured, glancing around at a few faces that were still beaming with admiration. She felt the pressure of her newfound success already clinging to her like a heavy coat. "What if I'm just a flash in the pan?" "Every success comes with risks," Mia said firmly. "Remember, you've inspired people today. This is your moment, it's up to you to own it." Emily took a deep breath, letting Mia's words soak in. Maybe this moment wasn't just about winning a contest. It was about embracing every possibility that lay ahead. As she stepped back into the crowd, the warmth of their cheers felt like fuel under her skin. She imagined herself bathed in a golden light, shining brighter than all of Richard's doubt. A reporter approached with a camera, the lens pointing directly at her. "Emily, how do you feel about winning? What's next for you?" A spark ignited within her. "I feel incredible. Winning the cupcake challenge has opened doors I never dreamed possible. I plan to keep baking and maybe even starting a small business." The crowd cheered again, excitement rippling through the room. But as the chips of doubt began to fade, Richard's voice echoed in her mind, his words replaying like a haunting refrain. "You're worthless." Could she really turn his negativity into motivation, or would it continue to shadow her success? Suddenly, a buzz of anxiety flared in the pit of her stomach. She spotted Richard standing at the back of the room, arms crossed, an unreadable expression on his face. Just then, she saw him turn away, seemingly retreating into the crowd. Her heart dropped. Was he too proud to acknowledge her? Fueled by a new resolve, she pushed through the sea of affection, determined to confront that ghost before it had the chance to linger longer. What would she say? Should she thank him for being her greatest motivator, or scream at him for being the weight she hadn't realized she'd been dragging along? This was her moment. She could either be the woman who escaped the shadows or the one who chose to look back into them. Taking a deep breath, she steeled herself, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Would Richard acknowledge her victory, or would this be another chapter in their story of doubt and fear? Emily's next steps would determine everything. Emily pushed through the crowd, the laughter and chatter of well-wishers swirling around her like a warm hug. But there was only one face she was searching for, the face of the man who had once deemed her dreams unworthy. Richard. She caught sight of him again, further back, leaning against a wall. He seemed detached, more ghost than person, and the sight of him sent a shiver down her spine. Was this the Victor-esque moment she was hoping for, or just another painful reminder of the old life she was trying to escape? As she drew closer, she rehearsed her words like a well-worn script in her mind. "Thank you for motivating me." Seemed a bit too sweet for someone who had crushed her spirit. Maybe "I didn't need your approval after all" was more like it. But what if he didn't even want to talk? What if he brushed her off again, leaving her with nothing but doubt? Each step forward felt heavier, but determination buoyed her feet. Richard looked up as she approached, his expression shifting from surprise to something unreadable. She could see the inner struggle playing out across his face, and for a flash of a moment, Emily felt a pang of sympathy for the man who had held her back for so long. "Emily," he finally said, his voice flat. "Congratulations on winning." "Thanks," she replied, trying to keep her tone steady. But inside, a storm brewed. "I didn't know if you'd come. I thought maybe you wouldn't show." His lips tightened, and Emily noticed how he avoided eye contact. "I didn't want to be part of the ruckus. I won, Richard." The words tumbled out, surprising even her. "I actually won, and it felt amazing. Better than anything I thought I could ever feel." For a moment he seemed taken aback. Maybe he had expected her to waver, to lash out. Instead, she was shining like the trophy she held. The glimmer of self-assuredness impressed even her. "And what are you going to do now?" he asked, his tone shifting slightly. Curious, cautious. "I'm going to start my own business," she replied, feeling the energy from the crowd spilling like light into her words. "I want to create. I want to share my dreams with the world, not hide behind a counter." His face froze for a moment, and Emily was sure she saw a flicker of doubt crack his armor. It was there and gone so fast she almost questioned if she imagined it. If only he could see that she was more than the waitress he once dismissed. If only he could realize that his words no longer had power over her. "I'll see you around," he said, turning away abruptly. "Wait," she called after him, desperation rising within her. "Don't you want to know why I kept going?" He paused, but didn't turn back. "You know why? You've always had the talent. Just didn't think it mattered enough." As he walked away, disappointment washed over her like a wave pulling back to shore. How could he still not see her? The woman who had transformed her pain into purpose? But then realization struck. This wasn't the end. It was just another chapter. With every cheer surrounding her, she felt the weight of his words lift. Richard did not define her. She had written her own narrative today. And maybe, just maybe, the story of Emily would evolve into something he couldn't ignore forever. Determined to leave the past behind, she glanced around the room at all the smiling faces, each one a reflection of her victory. But even amid the celebration, A new whisper tinged her heart, the taste of uncertainty. What would tomorrow bring? Would those who cheered today still stand by her side? Or would Richard's simmering doubt somehow find a way back into her life, merging with the success she had fought so hard to claim? As the crowd began to dissipate, her eyes landed on her trophy again, sparkling under the fluorescent lights. She could feel the change in her bones, the promise of new beginnings. But would she be strong enough to face Richard again, if their paths crossed once more? The night was still young, and uncertainty lingered like a shadow. Her journey was only just starting. What challenge awaited her next? The air was electric with possibility, and Emily drank in every encouraging word, every pat on the back. But a hollow space still echoed in her chest. Richard's dismissal lingered like a stubborn cloud, and though she'd taken a monumental step, her victory felt somehow incomplete as the celebration began to unwind. Emily snagged a glass of champagne from a passing tray, the bubbles dancing like her newfound ambition. Her friend Sarah, ever the supportive cheerleader, joined her, raising her glass in a toast. To new beginnings, Sarah exclaimed, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. To new beginnings, Emily echoed, though she felt a flicker of doubt in her gut. She couldn't shake the feeling that somehow, Richard's words would haunt her. Did you see him? The way he just stood there? I swear he was a statue. Sarah rolled her eyes dramatically. You had him rattled. You showing up and winning was the best revenge. That's what I wanted, Emily said, her thoughts drifting momentarily to the defeat she'd felt in Richard's presence. But why can't I be completely free of his shadow? That's just it, Sarah said, her eyes narrowing thoughtfully. You're looking for validation from him. You don't need it. Just focus on what you can control. What's next for you? Emily chewed her lip, the vision of her future sparking in her mind. I'm serious about starting my own business, but maybe I also need to get some mentorship first. Someone who can guide me without making me feel small. Then do it, Sarah urged, her enthusiasm infectious. You've got the strength. You proved that. Just think there's a whole world out there waiting for your ideas. Emily felt the heat of her friend's encouragement course through her. You're right. I'll start reaching out tomorrow. The urgency in Sarah's voice brought clarity, and the fear of facing Richard dulled, overshadowed by feelings of empowerment as the party started to disband. Emily noticed a silhouette standing apart from the gathering. It was Ava, her former co-worker, waving her over. Emily, there you are. Ava called out, her smile bright and warm. I was looking for you. Congratulations. I can't believe you did it. Thanks, Ava. Feels amazing, Emily admitted, flushing with pride. I heard you're starting a business, Ava said, her eyes shining with excitement. I know someone who could be perfect to help you. He's a local entrepreneur, and really? Emily interrupted, her heart racing. Could this be the opportunity she was looking for? Yeah. He's great at networking. Ava nodded vigorously. Let me connect you. He could give you some solid advice. Just then, a shadow crossed her peripheral vision, and there stood Richard once more. A raw emotion played across his face, one that Emily couldn't quite decipher. Just as he opened his mouth, her heart skipped. Was he actually going to say something worthwhile? But the moment was brief. Before she could process his presence, he turned abruptly away and disappeared. A knot twisted in her stomach, half expectant for him to return, half relieved that he hadn't. Hey, are you okay? Ava asked, concern etching her brow. Yeah, I'm fine, she whispered, though her mind whirled. There was something unfinished in her heart, an unresolved ache. Would she always feel this way around him? Let us focus on the future, Ava urged, pulling out her phone. I'll set this up for you. You're going to soar, Emily. With renewed determination, she nodded, feeling her pulse quicken. She had a choice now. A fresh start was at her fingertips. But even as excitement sparkled in her heart, a gnawing thought whispered. What happened if Richard returned to confront her about his past judgments? As the reality of her newfound path coursed through her veins, another uncertainty bloomed, darker and heavier than before. What if her resolution clashed with his unyielding doubts? Could she stand strong against the shadow he cast over her, or would her past haunt her dreams anew? Emily woke up the next morning bathed in the golden light that streamed through her bedroom window. The reality of her decision to start a business felt thrilling, yet the shadows of yesterday clung like morning fog. She sat up, heart pounding, thinking of how she would begin reaching out for mentorship. Today is the day, she whispered to herself, though doubt rumbled quietly in the back of her mind, echoing Richard's words. She pushed those thoughts aside and jumped into the shower, letting the warmth wash over her, hoping it would erase her lingering insecurities. After breakfast, Emily sat at her kitchen table, her laptop open before her like a blank page waiting for her next chapter. She glanced at her phone, heart racing as she pulled up Ava's text from the night before with the entrepreneur's contact information. Took a deep breath for her to hit call. As the phone rang, her mind raced through 1,000 possibilities. Would he dismiss her? Would he even take her seriously? She needed answers, and with each ring, her resolve to shake off Richard's judgment strengthened. Hello? A smooth voice answered, pulling her from her spiral of uncertainty. Hi, this is Emily. Ava told me you're a local entrepreneur, and she suggested I reach out as she explained her vision. She could almost hear the weight lifting off her shoulders. Felt good to speak up. He listened, and his responses were encouraging, a stark contrast to the prying doubts that Richard had instilled in her. We all start from somewhere, Emily. You need to trust in your ideas, he said, and she could feel his earnestness through the phone. The conversation flowed effortlessly, igniting a newfound spark within her. After hanging up, Emily felt her cheeks flush with hope. It was time to print her ideas, her passion, and her dreams. She opened a document, letting her heart spill onto the page. What would her business look like? How could she make a difference? Each word felt like a step toward liberation. Later that day, she felt a rush of excitement as she prepared for her meeting with her newfound mentor. Dressing with care, she chose an outfit that balanced professionalism with a hint of her personality. She caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror and almost didn't recognize the woman who appeared confident and inspired. But then, taking one last look, she thought of Richard, the man whose opinion had burrowed so deeply within her. Would he mock her efforts? Would he call her dreams worthless? The thought chilled her, yet something shifted at her core. You're not that person anymore, she murmured to her reflection, straightening her back. You can rise above this. As she stepped out of her apartment, she breathed in the fresh air, feeling the weight of uncertainty slowly lifting. She was ready. The world was ready for her. Arriving at the cafe, Emily's heart raced at the thought of meeting someone influential. What if this meeting changed everything? Would she walk away with the guidance she craved? But as she approached the table, there stood Richard. He hadn't noticed her yet, but she froze, feeling a surge of panic. He looked different, vulnerable, perhaps. A new part of her wanted to avoid him altogether, to walk away and keep the magic of her moment pristine. Could she confront him? It was time for her to decide, to face the past and prove that her worth was never up for debate. Emily, the unexpected voice of Richard, broke her thoughts, turning her world upside down once more. Had she imagined he'd show up today? What was he doing here? As their eyes locked, her heart jolted with questions. What did he want to say? Would it change everything she'd just begun to build? Emily stood frozen, the world around her fading into a blur as she stared at Richard. The man who once belittled her was now right in front of her, his expression surprisingly somber. She felt all the old wounds stirring, every word he had ever spoken echoing in her ears. But today was different. She was no longer the girl behind the counter. She had a trophy, dreams, and a burgeoning sense of self-worth. Emily, he said again, his voice hesitant. Congratulations on the win. I heard about it. Thank you, she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. It means a lot. Awkward silence hung between them as she battled with a mix of anger and confusion. Did he really care? Can we talk? Richard asked, his eyes searching hers. I know I've been mean, dismissive, cruel. Emily interjected, her voice stronger than she intended. You don't get to dismiss me and then expect a conversation like nothing happened. She was surprised by her own bravado. For too long, his opinion had cast a shadow over her life. But today, she felt the sun breaking through the clouds. Emily, I know I was wrong, he said quietly. I've seen how your community supports you. I just didn't understand it before. And I'm sorry. His admission hung heavy in the air, and Emily's heart softened, but doubt still flickered. Was he sincere, or was this just another attempt to brush the past under the rug? You think a simple apology can take away the pain of what you said? She challenged, but she couldn't deny that part of her wanted to hear him out. I realize now that I was wrong about people like you, Richard continued, his voice steady. I thought success was everything, but watching you win, it has changed my perspective. You turned your pain into beauty. That's something I've never truly seen before. The sincerity in his tone took her aback. Could it be that Richard had transformed, even just a little? Her instincts screamed to protect herself. Yet another part, a brave part, saw the glimmer of change in him. Why do you care now? Emily pressed. You always thought I was worthless. Honestly, I was scared, he admitted. Scared that people like me, wealthy, powerful, were supposed to have it all figured out. But your journey makes me realize how lost I've been. I want to change that. I want to learn from you. Emily's heart raced at the unexpected declaration. Was it possible Richard could really be different? Change isn't easy, she replied softly. You can't just flip a switch and become a better person. I know, he said, his gaze earnest. I want to earn the chance to learn and grow. Will you allow me that? As Emily stood there, processing his words, her friends entered the cafe. They spotted her, their faces lighting up with joy. She quickly turned, a wave of warmth washing over her. They were her family, the ones who always believed in her, and the thought of turning her back on that felt impossible. Emily, Mia waved, her smile encouraging, but then caught sight of Richard, her brow furrowed with concern. It's okay, she assured her friend, tilting her head towards Richard. He was just leaving, but something stopped her from sending him away. Perhaps she could give him a chance to show he could change, to showcase the vulnerability he never allowed himself. I'll consider it, she said, meeting Richard's gaze head-on. The truth was, she couldn't keep running away from the shadows of her past. Confrontation was part of healing. But if you're serious about understanding what worth really means, it's going to take time and commitment. I won back down. Richard nodded solemnly. There was a newfound respect dancing in his eyes. As her friends engulfed her in hugs, Emily felt stronger than before, buoyed by acceptance and the prospect of new beginnings. Are you ready for your meeting? Mia asked, pulling her attention from Richard, who stood waiting in quiet resolution. Yeah, she answered, taking a deep breath. It was time to craft her future, not just for herself, but for every person who had ever felt small. And today, she wouldn't let anyone dim her light, not even Richard. As they moved out into the afternoon sun, Emily felt the weight of doubt lifting, replaced with hope, determination, and the warmth of family beside her. The future was wide open, vibrant with possibilities, and she was ready to embrace every moment, determined to rise beyond expectations and redefine her worth. Today marked a new chapter in her life. She was no longer bound by the past. She was Emily, the champion of her dreams, and nothing would hold her back as they walked away together. Emily threw a glance back at Richard. He was standing there, watching her take the first steps toward a future filled with freedom and empowerment. She hoped one day he could find his own. Now it was her turn to shine. Don't wait. This is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help other stories like this thrive. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now, don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.